So without wasting any further time, let us start discussing about today's modules where we are going to discuss module number 4, module number 5, and module number 6. Now I mentioned yesterday that in today's session we are going to discuss about some very specific workloads or very specific domains of artificial intelligence and the services associated with those workloads. For example, module number 4 is about natural language processing, where we are going to discuss about the language service resource. We are going to discuss about the language service, and we are also going to explore the process of creating the language service resource as well as the language studio, which is a user interface or a portal dedicated to the features that language service offers. In module number 5, we are going to discuss about the concept of computer vision. The name of the service that we are going to work with in module number 5 is, just like the name says, Vision Service. And we will also explore the Vision Studio. And module number 6 is about document intelligence and information extraction. So the document intelligence and information extraction is what we will be covering in module number 6. All three of these modules are short and simple modules. We are not going to get inside any of the advanced level implementation of these modules or anything, because once again, since the majority of you are beginners, you would not be able to understand if we go into the advanced level details of these services. That is done in AI 102, which is a course specifically for advanced level implementations as well as further comprehensive details about these different services. In AI 900, which is a fundamentals level course, we are simply going to discuss about the basic capabilities of these different services that we have over the Azure portal. Okay, so the first module of our today's session and module number 4 overall is the concept of natural language processing. Now, natural language processing, it is basically a technology where you can go ahead and have a machine learning model analyze natural language for you. Now, this natural language can be in written format or it can be in spoken format. That totally depends on the user. That is how the user wants to send the input. But at the end of the day, you can have services present over the Azure portal. You can have machine learning models present in the portal that would be able to analyze these inputs that the user is going to send in their own natural language or in their own native language. So that is what we are going to discuss today. Yesterday, we understood that artificial intelligence from the perspective of Azure can be categorized, or the domains inside artificial intelligence can be categorized into these different sections, starting from generative AI up to information extraction. Now, Gen AI and agents and automation, both of these are something that we have already completed yesterday. So today we are going to cover these three modules, starting off with natural language, which is going to be our focus for this particular session. Here we are going to discuss about some basic concepts of natural language processing. We are going to discuss about the natural language processing that is available as part of the Azure cloud. And we are going to discuss about what if the user gives the input in the form of speech. What exactly is going to happen in that case? That is exactly what we are going to discuss in the third part of our today's module. Now, this is once again an example of natural language processing only, because even if the user sends the input in spoken format, that would still be considered as natural language. So these are the learning objectives for our today's module. The first one is recognizing when a natural language processing and conversational AI can be used. Second learning objective is to be able to identify the services that are available on Azure that can help you out with natural language processing based tasks. And the third learning objective is to be able to use the concept of text analysis and speech by yourself in the Foundry portal. Well, we are not going to perform these tasks in the Foundry portal because once again, we will need a subscription in the Foundry portal. Instead, we are going to use the concept of the Language Studio in order to try out some of these basic features. So let us get started off with the concept of natural language processing. Now, natural language processing or NLP is the area of AI that deals with making sense of written and spoken language. Typically, an NLP solution starts off with a large volume of raw text, which is pre-processed to prepare the raw text for modeling or for training the model. Now, in this pre-processing stage, there are different things that happen. There are a lot of pre-processing techniques that can be applied to the text. For example, there is a process which is called stop word removal. One of the pre-processing mechanisms is called the stop word removal. Now, what happens in this process is some frequently used words in English or whatever the language is in the raw text is going to be removed from the entire raw text. For example, words like the words like these are going to be eliminated from the raw text. So this process is called stop word removal. There are other processes as well. For example, we have the concept of stemming. We have the concept of stemming. Then we have the concept of lemmatization. Now, stemming and lemmatization, both of these are basically procedures or both of these are processes that can help the model, that can help the machine learning model to be able to identify the root word from different words. For example, assume these two words. The word which is universe and the word which is universal. For these two words, what exactly will be the root word? So this particular part is common in both the words, universe, UNIVER. This part is common in both the words. So this particular word is called the root word, and this root word can be detected by the help of stemming. Lemmatization also does the same thing, but in lemmatization, the root word that will be captured, it will be a meaningful word instead of just some random word for the sake of capturing a root word. There can be other techniques as well that happens inside the pre-processing stage, but those are once again associated with traditional machine learning techniques. Many of these approaches were extensively used in statistical modeling techniques that relied on counting the frequency of words in text in order to derive the meaning. But they are not that much important in modern day deep learning techniques. But one particular thing that is commonly done in the old techniques as well as in the new techniques is to tokenize the words. You are already familiar with the process of tokenization, where all the sentences, all the text that are present inside the training text, inside the source data, they will be broken down into their respective individual words. Therefore, these individual words will be called as tokens. Now, a set of tokens for a given corpus of text or for a given raw text, it represents the vocabulary for a language model. And the language model is going to use these bunch of words which have been tokenized from the raw text. These words would be used as the vocabulary by the language model, such that the language model would now be able to use this particular bunch of words in order to answer further questions that the user is going to ask. So that is what the process of tokenization helps us in doing. Now, once the data is used to train a model, depending on the type of task that you want to accomplish, the details of the model is going to vary. For example, you might use a fully connected neural network in order to train a particular classification model for sentiment analysis or for opinion mining. Or alternatively, you might want to use a sophisticated network in order to train a model that encodes language tokens in the form of vectors that encapsulate the semantic relationships between the different words that will be present inside the vocabulary of the language model. Such type of models are very useful for different type of operations like translation, summarization, text compression tasks, etc. Now, these are some of the common tasks that a language model is capable of performing. Text analysis, where you can analyze a text document in order to extract key phrases from the text or in order to identify entities present in the text or maybe the language of the text. Opinion mining or sentiment analysis that basically helps you out to understand what exactly is the opinion or what is the sentiment that is being conveyed through a sentence. Machine translation, just like the name suggests, it can help you out in order to perform translation of one language into another language, as well as it can also go ahead and help you out in performing further configurations over the translated text. For example, mapping between the source language and the target language, etc. Summarization can help you out in generating summary from a large piece of text. And you have conversational AI, which is a form of intelligence in which the AI agent is going to engage in a dialogue with a human user. To support these kind of interactions, a language model must be developed that enables the AI agent to interpret the incoming requests, determine the semantic meaning or intent of the request, and formulating an appropriate response. So conversational AI has a bunch of terminologies associated with it. For example, one of the terminologies is utterance. One of the terminologies associated with conversational AI is utterance. Another one can be intent. Now, I will explain these different terminologies as well as what exactly is conversational AI and what it helps you in achieving in one of the upcoming slides itself. Now, when would you want or when would you go ahead and use a natural language processing service? These are some of the use cases basically. So, for example, customer feedback analysis. Organizations need to analyze large volumes of customer reviews, support tickets, or maybe survey responses, let us say. By applying sentiment analysis and key phrase extraction, businesses can identify trends, they can detect dissatisfaction among their customer early and improve customer experiences. Healthcare text analysis is something that can be achieved in the healthcare sector with the help of Azure's language solutions. These language solutions can be used to extract clinical information from unstructured medical documents. Features like entity recognition and text analytics for health help the respective individuals to identify symptoms of diseases, medications, as well as diagnosis, therefore supporting faster and more accurate decision making. Conversational AI with virtual agents is another use case where you can use the language solution. These services can help you to create powerful virtual assistants that can interpret the intent of a user. They can translate conversations. They can extract relevant entities in a sentence, and they can then on respond appropriately depending on whatever the user has asked. So that was it about the basic concepts of natural language processing. Now let us actually look at what are the natural language processing based services that are available over the Azure environment or over the Azure portal. So when it comes to natural language processing, there are actually three types of services that are supported in the Azure portal. The first one being the language service that helps you out with input that is in written format. Text-based input in a written format is what you deal with the language service. Translator service can help you out with text-based input or spoken input. The speech service helps you out with input that was spoken. So audio type of input. Audio type of input is something that the speech service can help you deal with. Now, these are the different capabilities that these respective services help you in achieving. Under language service, you have features like language detection. So whatever input text you will send to the language service, the machine learning models that are a part of the language service have the ability to perform these different features without any further training. For example, language detection, key phrase extraction. Okay, so key phrase extraction is a procedure, it is a methodology where the central idea of a sentence can be detected. For example, if you say a sentence like, if the input sentence was like, I had a wonderful vacation in France. I had a wonderful vacation in France. If this was the input sentence, then what is the idea that you are trying to convey? The idea is that you had a vacation which was wonderful in France. So without these three words, the sentence is going to be incomplete. It is not going to make any sort of sense. But even if you say these three words without using the rest of the words, that would still convey an idea partially. Okay, so even if you were to say simply this, that wonderful vacation France. Even if you were to simply say these three words, this might not be grammatically accurate, but you still get the idea that we are conveying the idea of having a wonderful vacation in France. Therefore, without these three words, this entire sentence is not going to make any sort of sense at all. Hence, these are the key phrases that are present inside this sentence. Similarly, for any other sentence, the main idea of the sentence or the words that are conveying the main idea would be detected by the help of key phrase extraction. Named entity detection is something that you can achieve once again. Entities are basically the names of person, location, date or time, email IDs, all of these belong to entities. So if a sentence has a name of a place like this one, France is the name of a place. So this can be captured in the form of an entity, and this will basically be a location entity. Sentiment analysis and opinion mining is something that you can achieve when there are lots of reviews that exist. So you can basically gather or you can create a document with all of those reviews and you can analyze them with the help of the sentiment analysis feature so that you can understand whether the users, whether your customers are happy with your product, with your service, or if they are not. Now, sentiment analysis analyzes sentiments of an input. Sentiment can be of three to four different types actually. The first one being positive sentiment. The second one is negative sentiment. The third one is neutral sentiment. And the fourth one is mixed sentiment. Mixed sentiment. If a sentence is being spoken in a positive tone, if the sentence is being spoken in a happy way, it will be a positive sentiment sentence. The opposite of that will be negative. Now, if a sentence has both positive as well as negative tone, it will be a mixed sentiment sentence. And for sentences that are neither positive nor negative, it will be a neutral sentiment sentence. Personal information detection. or which is also called the personal PII detection, personally identifiable information. This is something that you can also perform with the help of the language service. Now, personally identifiable information are things like the name of an individual, okay, the address of that individual, the name, the address of that individual, their financial information. For example, it can be their credit card details, their bank account details, their financial information, their phone number, okay, their email address. So basically anything that can help you, that can help another person be identified individually, that can help them get identified on a personal level is called personally identifiable information. These can be detected by the language service and they can be censored out. Summarization to generate summaries from text, question answering solution that allows you to create a simple question and answering chatbot. Now, this question answering chatbot, it works on the concept of a knowledge base. This knowledge base is going to contain predefined questions and answer pairs. Now, whenever a user is going to ask any sort of question to this chatbot, the chatbot would look at the question whether it is present in the knowledge base or not. If the question is present, it will answer. If it is not present, it will not answer. It will say something like, I'm not sure what you are asking. Depends on how it has been implemented by the admin. Now, you might be wondering, okay, so in that case, how is a question answering chatbot helpful? Question answering chatbot is helpful majorly in implementing frequently asked questions. So in order to implement FAQs, instead of simply uploading the FAQ document to a website and the users having to manually scroll through the questions, you can implement a question answering chatbot where you can upload the FAQ document to the chatbot as its knowledge base. Now, whenever a user asks the particular question to the chatbot, if the question is present in the backend knowledge base, it will be answered. And conversational language understanding, which is also called the language understanding service or LUIS, LUIS. This helps individuals or this helps users to use AI systems or machine learning models so that they can understand the intent behind something that the user is saying or sending as input. For example, if I were to say a sentence like set an alarm, set an alarm at PM. If I were to say this sentence to the language service or to the conversational language understanding service or LUIS, the model should be able to understand my intention behind this sentence that I said, yeah, or behind this sentence that I sent as input. And it should be able to perform the task that I wanted it to perform, that is setting up an alarm at the particular time. So this is something that can be achieved with the help of the conversational language understanding service. Now, depending on which use case is the conversational language understanding service is being implemented for, the training of the language understanding service can be different. Therefore, the language understanding service as well as the question answering chatbot with its knowledge base, both of them need to be trained before they can actually be deployed. Next, we have the translator service using which you can perform text translation. You can perform translation on an entire piece of document. And for languages that are not supported by the translator service, you can always use custom translation. For speech service, you can perform tasks like converting a piece of text into speech, the vice versa of the previous feature, that is converting a speech into text. You can even translate some speech into another language. You can identify a speaker based on their voice. You can detect the language of a sentence that is being spoken. So all of these are achievable in the speech service. But this particular feature, speaker identification, this once again is going to fall under category of personally identifiable information. And therefore, you will require special permission from Microsoft in order to perform this particular task. Similar kind of limitation is present over the face recognition service in the next module, where you can detect a person, you can identify a person based on their facial data using the face service. So for that particular service, your you need special permission, you need a particular license from Microsoft. So what exactly is the Azure AI language or the language service basically? So the language service, it provides pre-trained and customizable deep learning models in order to analyze text and perform these kind of features. Entity recognition, where what we discussed in the previous slide. Entity linking is something that was not present. So let me basically specify what entity linking is all about. What entity linking basically does is it can help you generate links for the entities that will be detected. For example, if you were to say something like, okay, I'll be explaining the concept of entity linking in its respective slide itself. So basically, whatever entities will be detected, there will be a link from Wikipedia that will be shared along with that entity. This is for the sake of removing any sort of ambiguity. You have personally identifiable information detection, PII detection, that can identify personally sensitive information. Language detection, sentiment analysis, summarization, key phrase extraction, all of these we discussed in the previous slide. So the language service available over the Azure portal can help you in performing these different tasks. So these are some of the examples of whatever features we discussed. This sentence, for example, I decided to visit Los Angeles for the first time on August 17, 2019. Now, if you were to analyze this piece of text for different features, for example, language detection, it will be detected as English. Sentiment, 100% neutral. Here, 100% being the confidence score. Neutral is the actual sentiment. So if you read the sentence, you will notice that the sentence does not have either positive or negative emotions. Key phrases are Los Angeles, first time, and August 17th, 2019. Because these are the main ideas that are being conveyed in this particular sentence. There is a date entity present. So this August 17th, 2019, this is basically a date entity. Okay, so these are the different topics. These are the different type of features that can be detected using the text analysis service. Now let us say there was a sentence that was something like this. I saw Venus shining in the sky. Now, if we were to read this sentence and if I were to ask you what is the meaning of this word Venus over here, all of you would be able to say that this word Venus over here is referring to the planet, right? But during the simple entity linking process, if the output, it simply said that detected entities or entity detected is Venus, it would not have made any sense to you. You might have gotten confused that, okay, what is this word referring to? Like, is this word referring to the planet? Is this word referring to, there is a carnivorous plant that is called the Venus flytrap. Is it referring to that plant? Or is it referring to the goddess of beauty? Venus is also used to refer to the goddess of beauty in the Greek mythology. Or is this word Venus referring to the goddess? So that is this is an ambiguous situation that might arise. Therefore, in order to remove this ambiguity, entity linking is going to send an Wikipedia link for the meaning that this particular entity is referring to in this sentences. So for this particular case, there will be basically an Wikipedia link that will be shared along with this detected entity that will redirect you to the homepage of Wikipedia for the Venus planet. This is what entity linking helps you out with. There is no separate example for that over here. That once again is on the slides of AI 102. That is fine. Conversational AI. Okay. So conversational AI, just like we discussed, this is the language understanding service. It allows us to train a language model that can interpret natural language commands. Okay. Conversational AI, we can describe solutions that enable a dialogue between AI and a human. So under conversational AI, we can either define a question answering chatbot or a language understanding service, that is LUIS. Both of these belong to the concept of conversational AI, and language understanding service helps us in performing both of them. So question answering chatbot, we need to define a knowledge base in the question answering chatbot. We need to define question and answer pairs inside that knowledge base. Once that is done, we can ask questions to the chatbot and we can expect an answer from the chatbot only if the question is present. And for the language understanding service or LUIS, we can go ahead and ask the model or the service to perform anything. For example, setting an alarm at a particular time, switching on a device, switching off a device. We can expect the model, the language understanding service, to be able to interpret that command and perform the action. This is an example of conversational language understanding. So if this was the input sent by the user, if this was the input that says switch the light on. Now the input that is sent by the user is called utterance, and the actual meaning behind the utterance is called intent. So this intent will be detected by the language understanding service. Now, in order to help the language understanding service to be able to understand this intent from this utterance, the first step is to train the language understanding service. I'll show you the process of how to train the language understanding service in order to map the intents with its respective utterances. And you can also specify separate entities that are present inside the utterance. This is once again important because what if the command was something like this? What if the command was, what is the time? What is the time? Now, for this particular command, the language understanding service should be able to specify or should be able to reply back with the time. Okay, whatever the time is, for example, 1:15 p.m. But if I were to change this command to something like, what is the time in London, let us say. In this case, just because of this entity being present in the utterance, the reply is going to be different. It is going to be different. So the concept of entities is very important when we are defining utterances because an entity being present in the utterance can change the entire intent of the utterance. So it is important to train the language understanding service to be able to detect any entities that are present in the utterance as well. The translation service allows us to work with the Azure AI translator resource in order to translate a language from one language to others. And in order to translate a piece of text, in order to translate a piece of speech from one language to another language, we need to use the translator service along with the Azure AI speech service, for which we can send an input audio in one language that can be converted into an output audio in another language. Okay, now we have a bunch of questions associated with whatever we just discussed. Try to answer these questions just like you did yesterday. After that, I'm going to show you the basic demonstration of the language service and the different features that we just discussed about. Okay, so C, B, and B seems like the opinion of the majority. Okay, some of you are saying C, B, and A. Okay. All right, I'll wait for a few more seconds. After that, I'll be discussing the answers. So for those of you who are still trying, please go ahead and do so. Okay. So let us start discussing the answers. The first question, what are some capabilities of the language service? Of course, C is the answer. You want to use the language service to determine the key talking points. Yes, we use inference extraction. You want to create a knowledge base for bots. Now, some of you answered with conversational language understanding. Now, but just like I mentioned, conversational language understanding does not require knowledge base. Yes, you will have to train conversational language understanding model separately. You will have to map the utterances with the intents, but knowledge base is not required for that. Knowledge base is required for a question answering chatbot only. So C, B, and B are the correct answers. For those of you who did answer them correctly, congratulations. And for the rest of you, really appreciate you trying. And one small and final part that we have is the speech recognition service and the concept of speech synthesizing. So the speech service, it allows us to perform these two different operations on a very basic level where a speech can be converted into text. Now, this particular feature is called speech transcription. This process is called speech transcription. And this particular process, this particular feature is actually used in video streaming platforms like YouTube and Amazon, where subtitles are generated automatically from the audio that is being played at real time on these platforms. And there is another feature called the text to speech feature. This particular feature is called speech synthesis. This is the feature that is called speech synthesis, where a speech will be synthesized based on whatever text is used as input. This is once again a good feature that is used by a lot of content creators these days who post videos on social media but are not comfortable in sharing their own voice. So they make use of these text to speech features in order to generate an AI based voice that will be speaking something given as input in a text. And both of these features are available over the speech service. Now let us go ahead and discuss about the services that we just covered. Okay, so the process to create the language service is something that all of you are already familiar with. For the rest of the services, for example, the speech service, in order to work with the speech-based processes, the speech service is available over here. You will have to create the speech service first. The process is similar to any other resource. Fill up the name of a resource group, a region of deployment, name of the resource group. Now, pricing tier is different for every resource, but then again, it depends on which resource you are creating. The pricing for that resource will vary accordingly. So you can click on this view full pricing details hypertext over the portal that will be available whenever you are trying to create a resource in order to understand the details that you get when you are choosing a particular pricing tier. For the rest of the tabs under network, you can choose which network would have access to the resource. Under identity, you can configure system assigned managed identity for further authentication, and authorization to grant to access other resources. Once these are done, you can create the resource which is going to look something like this. Now, if you wanted to integrate this speech service, like if you wanted to send request to the speech service from your own source code, from your own application that you have developed in order to maybe try out a small project where you will be sending the input to the terminal of your IDE and the output would be generated right there itself. In that case, this endpoint value should be used in the environment variable of the source code along with the authentication key that you will find under the keys and endpoint section of resource management. So both of these keys, you can use either the second key or the first key. And both of these keys can be regenerated in case their security has been compromised. Other than that, there is not a lot of things that you can do on the portal itself. So once you create the speech service, you will be given a button to open the speech studio. Now this speech studio is the actual user interface associated with the speech service where you can convert speech into text, you can generate captions, you can perform post-call transcription, you can work with language learning in order to help your pronunciation, to help your uh, the way you speak a certain language. You can perform video translation. Now these are some of the speech capabilities features by scenario. For converting a speech to text, these are the different models available. For example, real-time speech to text translation conversion, Whisper model that are present in the Foundry portal, converting speech to text in batch, custom speech, speech translation, pronunciation assessment with speech to text. So these are the services for speech to text. Similarly, for text to speech, there are all these different services that are available that you can work with. So the Speech Studio, it is available over this particular URL that I will be sharing with you at the end of this particular module. I'll just keep it over here as of now. And the first service that we discussed about was the language service, which we also created yesterday. So I'm sure you are familiar with the process to create the language service. Click on the create button, choose the different features that you want. Now understand the fact that if you needed the question answering chatbot solution, but where you wanted the question answering chatbot to be implemented over your own data corpus or over your own knowledge base, in that case, make sure to select this particular option. So this option helps you in implementing a question answering chatbot with the help of the language service. But if you do not need it, you can leave this unselected and continue to create the resource by filling the basic details once again. And the language service looks something like this. We have already explored the language service yesterday. Now the language service once again does not offer a lot of things you can do from over here. But what you can do is open the language studio, which is available over this particular URL called language.cognitive.azure.com. Now there are some features of the language studio that you can use without even having a subscription. Is this URL as well. Now inside the language studio only, you can see in these different tabs, there are different features that are available. For example, under the extract information feature, you can perform personal identifiable information extraction, key phrase extraction, linked entity detection, named entity extraction, okay, health information extraction. Under text classification, you can detect languages, you can analyze sentiments. Now, it might be possible that after the session ends, you forget what these features are about. So, therefore, you will also get a basic description with these features themselves. So, for example, if you are trying to, let us say, identify personally identifiable information, the moment you click on that feature, you will be taken to the next page. And in this page, there are some samples that will be default present by default. Simply click on the run button and the analysis will be returned back over this particular document that you have over here. So if you scroll down, you will be able to explore all the results that are present. Now, if you wanted to use your own documents, if you wanted to upload your own documents, in that case, you will need to have an active subscription present. But other than that, you can explore the PII detection feature for these basic samples in this particular manner. Now, if you scroll down and look at the output, these are the different type of PIIs as well as protected health information which are detected. Okay, so there is a date time value that was detected. This is simply an entity. A person name was detected. A person's type of occupation was detected. Where the organizer, like where exactly does the person work was detected. The name of the person was detected. His address was detected. You can even go ahead and choose this toggle to hide the personally identifiable informations that will be hidden over here. Now here date, okay, person type, these are not directly personally identifiable informations, but these will still be able to help someone in order to identify this particular person called Matteo Gomez personally. Because let us assume on August 17, 2019, an employee of this particular restaurant residing in this particular address hereby declare to fully support and promote the top priorities. So basically, if someone were to explore the register or if someone were to explore the number of people working on this particular date, there is still a very minor possibility that this individual might get identified. Therefore, this value is still being identified as a PII, even though the confidence score is not that high as expected. So this is how you can use the feature of personally identifiable information. Now for the conversational language or the language understanding service, this is where you can define the language understanding service from. Now in the language understanding service, this is the custom question answering solution or the question answering chatbot that we were discussing about. Let me sign in. These features, they require you to have an active subscription over the Azure portal. So let me quickly sign in. That would be directly and perform these. For example, the answering chatbot and work with it. First thing you will have to do is create a project. While creating a project, the name of chatbot, language, and a default answer value when no answer is found by the chatbot should be provided. Once these are filled in, simply click on review and finish, which will create a chatbot like this. Now over here, this is the option to add the knowledge base. For example, there are options to add knowledge base in the form of URL. If you wanted to add a knowledge base that is hosted online, for example, the web page of some website, the FAQ web page of some website, you want to take that URL and upload it over here, you can do so. If you have files in your system that you want to use as the knowledge base, you can do so. And the chit chat option is something that you can also implement under chit chat. These are the different options that can be added inside the knowledge base, which basically makes the chatbot friendly in nature. Because what if the user says something like, "Hi, how are you?" or who is your father? Or what is the name of your parents? These are some examples of situations where we do not want the chatbot to reply with, uh, I'm not sure what you are asking. I want my chatbot to sound friendly. I want it to be a bit sophisticated. Therefore, I can add these predefined chit chat pairs to the knowledge base, which will be added like this. Now, once the knowledge base is added, you can also edit the knowledge base. Currently, I do not have a knowledge base present. I only have this chit chat pair that is available, the friendly chit chat option. So let us edit the knowledge base to check what are the question answers present inside. I am so bored of you. Is the question, swing and a miss is the answer. Are you a woman is the question, that doesn't feel apply to me is the answer. If you wanted to edit any of these, you can always go ahead, select this particular question answer pair and edit it. Now, it is not mandatory for the user to always ask the question in this particular format only. So the question answering chatbot service over Language Studio offers you with the chance to add alternate questions as well to a particular question. So just select the particular question, click on alternate questions and click on add alternate question. Okay. Here you can define alternative questions to this particular question. For example, are you trans? Are you cisgender? Are you a guy? Please tell me if you're a woman. All these questions, they have the overall same meaning of this question itself, where the user is trying to figure out the gender of the chatbot. Therefore, the answer will always be that does not really apply to. Similarly, you can go ahead and explore all of these other question answers that are available. And if you were to add any other type, if you were to add any other knowledge base, you can edit the same in this particular way. Once the knowledge base is added, it needs to be deployed. Now, after the knowledge base is deployed, then only it would be available using this prediction URL thing. It can be used by the chatbot in order to access this knowledge base and answer to any questions that the user asks. So this is how the question answering chatbot works. A very simple process. And the language understanding service, the conversational language understanding, here also you need to create a project by filling up the basic details. Once the project is created, this is how it looks like. Now, inside the project, you will have to first of all define the intent and the entity that you want to add. For example, the entity, this particular question, what is the time? The intention behind this sentence is get time. We are trying to fetch the time, right? So the intent will be get time. So this particular intent, it can be added to the Language Studio by going to the intent tab, click on the add button and simply add the name of the intent and click on the add intent button. It will be added like this. Similarly, here we have an entity present as well, London. This entity is a location entity. So that can be added as well in the under the entities tab. So here you can click on the add entity button and you can go ahead and add the name of an entity and it will be added like this. We have currently a location entity. Now, under the data labeling section is the place where you define intents and map them to, where you define utterances and map them to intents. So what you can do is, okay, so what you can basically go ahead and do is, here you will have to select the intent for which you are trying to define an utterance. For example, let us say get time. Now you can write your utterance here. I wonder what the time is in London. I typed the sentence, I press enter, and you will see the mapping is completed. This utterance has this particular intent associated with it. Now, this also has an entity present inside of it. So what if you have defined the entity, it will be available on the right hand side. Or if you have not, you can always add it as well from this add entity button. Now this London, how do I map this to the location entity? All you need to do is simply select this London word, and the moment you do, a drop down will appear. You will just have to choose the correct entity for it, which is location. And this is how the mapping is then going to look like. Similarly, you will have to go ahead and define the other utterance and intent pairs along with their respective entities. Once that is done, save the changes. Then you can come to the training jobs option and start a training job. Provide a name for the model that you want. Choose the standard training option, which is free, as well as it is faster for quicker iterations. Define the split for the training data and the testing data. Once all of this is done, start the training process. Now, once the training is completed, it takes 15 to 20 minutes usually. The performance of the model along with its accuracy its like the accuracy in its predictions, it will be listed over here under the model performance section. If you are happy enough with the performance, simply come to deploying a model and click on add deployment. The option will be available once you have successfully published a model after performing the training. Now, once that is done, you can also test the deployment from the testing deployment section. The deployment that you have created will be available over here. Select it, add an utterance over here, and you can cross-check the intent that it will detect over here under the result section. So this is how you can define the language understanding service. A very simple process. Now I'll be sharing both of these links with you. Now, both of these links, you do not need to explore them as of now. After we are done with today's theoretical part, in the leftover part, you can explore these different services and you can try out any features that you want, but do not have a mandate of using a subscription. Similarly, you can also try out these different features like summarization, and the translation feature is available over here itself in the Language Studio. But there is a separate service as well, which is present inside the Azure portal, which is called the Translator Service or the Azure Translator Service that you can look up and create using the similar process as the language service. So that was it about our current module that discussed about natural language processing. I'll be sharing these documents with you in after today's theoretical part is completed, and we are also going to share the course URL as well as the achievement code URL once these theoretical parts are done. So let us move on to the next module. After that, take a short break like we usually do, because this is going to be yet another simple module that is computer vision basically. So computer vision is the fourth workload that we have for the day or for AI 900 overall. Here we are going to discuss about some of the basic concepts of computer vision. Then we will dive into the Azure services that bring these concepts to life. For example, the image analysis service, the face detection service, as well as the process of reading text with optical character recognition. By the end of this module, our objective is to understand the foundation of the multimodal models of a computer vision service and identify the different capabilities of the AI vision service. So I'm sure you all might already have figured it out by the name, but at its simplest, the computer vision service is just a service that will help you out in processing images, in dealing with images. Now, I am assuming you know that an image is nothing but an array of pixel values. Now, before processing any image, the model or any system, first of all, it applies filters in order to highlight the edges of the image, sharpen the details of the image, or blur the images. These transformations help the machine learning models detect important features inside the raw image data. For example, here, this is a grayscale image that we have. It consists of an array of pixel values between 0, that is black, and 255, that is white. Now, the first thing that will happen if we upload this image to a machine learning model is that it will apply a filter over this image in order to highlight the edges, in order to make the edges of the image more visible. So a filter called a Laplace filter is going to be convoluted over this entire piece of image. It will be passed across and down over the image. Therefore, calculating values for a new array by using a weighted sum of the original pixel values, which are listed over here, which will be multiplied with the values present inside the filter, inside this particular filter. Now, this new array that will be defined, or this new array that will be generated, will look something like this. Now this one is the filtered image. This filter, it usually with some kind of visual effect, it will basically generate an image where the edges of the image will be highlighted while retaining the original shape of the image. Now, only after this particular methodology is completed, the model would be able to detect the main parts of the image or the main details of the image. Now, back in the day, the computer vision models, they used the concept of convolutional neural networks. These convolutional neural networks, they used to follow a few particular processes, a few particular steps in order to analyze image and in order to classify them into different categories. For example, this diagram here is representing an image classification model where images of fruits would be captured and they will be categorized into different classes depending on what these images are for. So this is these steps that are mentioned over here. They basically specify the process to illustrate how exactly the convolutional neural network would have worked for the image classification scenario. So the images, they would have known levels associated with them. For example, 0 can be for apple, 1 can be maybe for, let us say, banana, or can be for orange. Now, these images with these levels associated will be fed into the neural network, train the model. One or more layers of filters are going to be applied in order to extract the features from each and every image as it is fed to the network. And the filter kernels, they will start with randomly assigned weights and generate arrays of numeric values, which are called something as feature maps. Now, these feature maps, they are multidimensional in nature, which a neural network would not be able to access. Therefore, the feature maps are flattened into single dimensional array of feature values. Now, these feature values are fed into the neural network. After the operation of the neural network, it is going to predict that which of these images belongs to which of the categories or which of these classes. So this is how a convolutional neural network would have worked back in the day for an image classification scenario. But convolutional neural networks are no longer used in vision models. The modern day computer vision models, they make use of the language encoder and image encoder. Why so? Because the language encoder and image encoder, both of them combined together, make the model training process much simpler in nature. So modern day computer vision models, they are trained with large volumes of images from the internet. Now, these images, they do not have labels associated with them in numerical format after defining these labels. So these images, they simply have text-based caption or text-based labels associated with them. Now, much often the users are going to interact with these foundation models where they will be pre-trained on general models on which you can build multiple adaptive models for specialized tasks. Now, these language encoder and the image encoder, which will be present as part of the foundation model, what they're going to do is the language encoder will help the adaptive model in order to understand this caption or this text-based level, and the image encoder would be able to identify the image. So both of them, when working together, would be able to map this particular image with its respective caption or with its respective, the level associated with it. Therefore, making the process of model training easier. So the adaptive models that are based on the foundation model that has a language encoder as well as an image encoder. Now these adaptive models would be able to perform tasks like image classification, object detection, generate captions with images, generate tags for images, etc. And this is exactly what most computer vision models use in the present world. Convolutional neural networks are no longer used as it would have been back in the day. Now, what are the services that Microsoft provides us with for vision-based capabilities? The services can be categorized under two different types. One is the vision service in order to work with normal images. Second one is the face service in order to work with facial data. So for vision service, we can analyze images in order to perform tasks like generate tags for images, generate captions, customize the model in order to make sure that the model can work with custom images as well. You can perform optical character recognition where the model would be able to extract text from images and video analysis. Face service, on the other hand, it allows you to perform these different tasks, detect a person's face in an image, recognize an individual based on their facial data. And once again, just like I mentioned, face recognition, it tampers with your personally identifiable information. Therefore, you need special permission from Microsoft in order to perform the face recognition feature. If you have tried appearing for any government exams or exams for the MBA entrance, like the CAT exam, in that case, you might have noticed that in the exam center, when you are entering, your face is being scanned and it will be matched with your government ID card in order to recognize or in order to detect whether you are the same person as it is in the government ID card or not. Over there, the face service is used. Machine learning models trained with the face service are used. Now, these different features like image tagging and stuff, we are going to discuss all of these in the very next slide. So assume this particular image. If we were to analyze this image, if we were to run image analysis on this image with the help of the AI vision service or the computer vision service, in this case, what we can basically go ahead and do is you can, first of all, customize the model. With the help of customization of the model, you can make sure the model works with any type of images, even if that type of image is not present in the training dataset of the model. You can read text from images, which is also called optical character recognition. If this image would have contained any text, you could have copied the text from the image and you could have pasted it on your system. You can detect different people who are present in the images who will be simply highlighted in this particular way. And in some cases, even the gender as well as the age of the person might be predicted. Captions with images can be generated. Objects in the image can be detected. For example, the different objects present in this image are there is a street over here. These persons are wearing jacket and jeans. Okay, so these will be some of the common objects detected. Tags associated will be present as well. Now, what are these tags? We also discussed this in the previous slide, that is tagging. Tags are basically the visual features of this image. For example, this image is of an outdoor environment. You can see the image is probably it belongs to a city. So city will be one of the tags. Outdoor will be one of the tags. Okay. The street they are walking on, that can be one of the tags as well. So all the visual features in the image, there can be tags associated with them. And you can also perform smart crop in order to highlight the main region of interest in the image. For example, if we were to run the image analysis feature with the AI vision service, this is how the output would have looked like, depending on where exactly you are accessing the service from. If you are using an SDK in order to send request to the vision service after creating it in the portal and using the endpoint and key value, in that case, the output is not going to be like this. In that case, the output would be shown in the terminal. The format will be different, but the overall output will be the same anyway. So the caption, you can see a group of people walking on a sidewalk, and the tag generated are building in the background, jeans, okay, street, okay, outdoor, fine, city, jacket, person. These are the tags associated with all the main visual features in the image. And the face detection with the face service, it helps you in detecting different type of features or different type of stuff in a facial data of an individual. For example, If this is the image, the face of the individual will be highlighted, and you can detect further details like whether the image is blurred or not, whether the face is blurred or not. This is an indication of how likely is the person's face to be the main focus of the image. The exposure of the image can be detected in order to ensure whether the image is underexposed or overexposed, and it applies to the face in the image, not the overall image exposure. You can detect whether the person is wearing glasses or not. You can go ahead and analyze the person's face orientation in 3 dimension space. You can find out whether there is any noise present in the image or not, which happens if you click a picture in a dark environment. You can determine if there are objects that are blocking the face in the image or not. And only managed Microsoft customers or people with special permission from Microsoft can access facial recognition capabilities like similarity matching in order to compare the similarity between the facial data of two different individuals or between the image of face of the same individual but in two different images. Identity verification, where a person's identity can be verified based on their facial data. Optical character recognition is another feature associated with the vision service where you can detect whether the text in an image, if it is printed or handwritten. You can also copy this piece of text directly in your system from an image. The optical character recognition, which is present as part of the vision service, it will help you out in extracting out small amounts of text. But the OCR feature available as part of document intelligence service that will allow you to copy or it will allow you to extract large amount of text from PDF files or from documents or from images. So based on whatever we discussed until now, these are a few questions. Try to answer them. Okay, answers are floating up. All right. So let us discuss the questions, and you can check whether your answers were correct or not. Majority of the answers say B, A, and B. Some of them say B, C, and B. Okay, B, A, C. All right. Okay, so the answers vary for almost all the three questions. Let us discuss them. First question says you want to use the face detection service to identify face in images. What can be identified using the face detection service? The correct answer would be partially obscured faces. Because for the first option, faces that cannot be seen because the person has turned their back. Now, if the entire face is not even being seen, in that case, the service has nothing to detect. So the face is not even going to be detected, let alone detecting the occlusion in front of the face. Faces that are obscured by another object, on the other hand, even if the face is completely hidden, in that case also, the face detection service is not going to be able to detect the face if it is completely obscured by another object. So the best choice would be partially obscured faces. The second point says you want to use AI vision and AI language service, and you also want developers to require only a single key and a single endpoint to access all the services. What kind of resource should you create in Azure? Now, this is a question that recalls yesterday's concepts that we discussed. If you remember, we discussed the fact that all the services that are conveyed with the help of the language service, the vision service, the doc intelligence service, all of those are also available over the Azure AI service that is present in the Foundry portal that used to be in the Azure portal itself by the name of Azure AI Service Multi-Service Account, but as of now, it has been moved. Language service is not even being considered. Vision service is a standalone resource. Okay. So vision service and language service, both of these have their own standalone services. But the multi-service, the Azure AI Service multi-service resource has multiple AI services, for example, vision, language, speech, etc., under one key and one endpoint. So A is the correct answer. And the third question says which capabilities are part of Azure AI Vision? We have discussed that optical character recognition and face detection. This is the correct answer. Document intelligence, not even the case. Face detection and speech recognition. Face detection, you can argue that there are some basic face detection features present with the AI Vision service, but speech recognition, obviously not. So the correct answers are option B for the first question, A for the second, and B for the third question. All right, now before wrapping it up, let us go ahead and explore the AI Vision Studio. Once again, in order to work with the Vision Studio, the first thing that you will have to do is create a computer vision resource in the Azure portal. The process to create the computer vision resource was similar to the language service, just some basic details of the same and review plus create. I do not have a vision service created because most of the services present in the Vision Studio are available to use without even using the Vision service resource. But the overall view of the Vision service resource is exactly the same as the language service resource. Now this is the Vision Studio. So this is the URL of the Vision Studio, and you do not need to sign in. You can perform the basic operations without even having an account. So what are the different tasks, the different features that you get? Searching of photos. Okay, search for a specific moment. You can, for example, if you attended a wedding, you can simply search for weddings and that particular photo will come up. Adding detailed captions within images, generating captions for images, detecting objects in images, creating smart cropped images in order to highlight the main region of interest, face detection, liveness detection in order to verify whether an actual person is sitting in front of the camera or not. All of these are the main features available in the Vision service. If you were to click on any of these services, if you were to click on any of these services, you get the chance to either work with some of these sample images, or you can click on the browse for a file option, and you can upload your own image as well. For example, if I were to use this image, let us see what the dense caption feature is going to generate. It will generate, basically, it is going to generate a caption for almost everything that can be seen in the image. A man in a sports uniform is the overall image. A man in a sports uniform for the person in front, a back of a person wearing a jersey. The moment I hover over these captions, their respective sections are being highlighted. A logo of a football team, close up of a logo, close up of a sign, blurry blue and white background. So this is how the dense caption feature works. Similarly, if you were to try out object detection, you can once again upload your own photos as well. Now, if you were to upload any of these pictures, once again, you can see that the objects that are present are a soccer ball and a person, and the confidence score associated with them are also returned back. So this is how the object detection feature works. Now, there are other services as well. For example, the optical character recognition. Okay, the face service, you can try it out. Smart cropped images, okay, extracting common tags from images. All of these are possible. Portrait processing in order to generate portrait images. Photo ID matching is once again not possible for normal users. These are all the different services that are available. And if you were to, let us say, integrate the Vision Studio or the features of the Vision Studio with your own application, with your own source code, in that case also, you will have to develop your own source code. You will have to integrate the Vision service that is available. You will have to integrate this computer vision service after creating it using the endpoint and the authentication key values with your application. You will have to define API paths. You have to define simple API paths that would be that would help you out in accessing these different features. That way you can use these features with your own application. The features are very simple in nature. I have already shared the URL of the Vision Studio. You can try out the Vision Studio URL as well as the URL for Language Studio and Speech Studio as well. I'll bring all of them together in one place. You can try out all of these different studios once we are done with the theoretical part. All right. And the final module that we have, it is once again a short module, just like we discussed over here. These documents I'll share with you after the theoretical part. So the third module that we have, we are not going to start it immediately. We are going to take a short break of 10 minutes. After this 10-minute break, we are going to come back and wrap up the AI 900 training. So start the timer, and it is once again going to be a very short topic to discuss. I'm going to wait for maybe a few more seconds, maybe 30 to 40 seconds now, so that the rest of the people can come back and we can start it all together. Okay, so let us get started with the final module without wasting any more time. So the final module is about information extraction, where we are simply going to discuss in brief about the document intelligence service. Now, this document intelligence service is an interesting service that basically helps you out in extracting different pieces of information, that maybe you want to extract out of a document. Now, this document can be a PDF file, it can be a receipt, it can be maybe tax invoice, it can be a business card. You want to extract out information from them. So all of that can be done with the help of the document intelligence service, which works on the concept of information extraction. So our main focus for this module is going to be the final workload of AI, that is the fifth one, information extraction. Here we are going to discuss these two different topics. First of all, we have introduction to AI-powered information extraction concepts. And after that, we are actually gonna go ahead and discuss about the information extraction resource that is available over the Azure portal. Okay, so let us get started with the basic concepts of information extraction first. Now, information extraction process or the exact process that is followed is, first of all, whenever these models need to be trained, the first thing that is done is source identification. First of all, it needs to be determined where exactly the information resides and if it needs to be digitized or not. The second process involves extraction of the information based on machine learning in order to understand and extract data from that digitized content. The third step involves transformation of the data that was extracted in the previous text and transform them into structured formats like maybe a JSON file or a tabular format. And the fourth step is storage and integration. So after the data has been extracted from the data source, once it has been transformed, this transformed data or this processed data, it needs to be stored somewhere. Now, this somewhere can be either a database, it can be a data lake, it can be an analytics platform for further analysis purpose. So that completely depends on the user. Now, some examples of information extraction scenarios can be, for example, if a company needs to process employee expense claims and has to extract expense descriptions and amounts from scanned receipts. Or maybe if a customer service agency wants to analyze the recorded support calls in order to identify common problems and solutions. In these different types of cases, information extraction can be used. Now, just like I mentioned while discussing about the previous topic, that optical character recognition is a type of uh, technology that is present as part of the vision service as well as it is present as part of the document intelligence service. So, optical character recognition or OCR in short, it helps computers recognize that an element in an image contains some piece of text. And this OCR is the foundation of processing that text in images and uses machine learning models that are trained to recognize individual shapes as letters, numerals, punctuations, or other elements in the text. Much of the early work on implementing this particular feature was performed by postal services to support automatic sorting of mail based on postal codes. Since then, the state of the art for reading text has moved on, and the models that detect the printed or handwritten text in an image and digitize it line by line and word by word have been introduced. And this introduced the concept of optical character recognition. Now, some use cases where you can use OCR are extracting of contact information from scanned business cards or conference badges, capturing information from ID cards to complete electronic forms, scanning and storing of recipes or other text, photograph a sign or storefront so you can submit it to a translation service, digitize handwritten notes. So basically, any piece of text that you can extract, that you want to extract from an image, we make use of optical character recognition to achieve that. That is the simplest definition of OCR. Then we have the concept of extracting data from forms. The document intelligence service, it helps us in achieving this particular functionality. The document intelligence service describes AI capabilities that processes text and attach semantic meaning to that extracted text. For example, the text that will be extracted from this piece of document, they will have a semantic meaning associated with them. So this might be the name of the vendor, this might be the details of the customer, This one will be the address of the customer. These will be the items purchased. These will be the prices associated with them. So even when you are working with the document intelligence service in a real-time scenario, then also this is how the extraction is going to look like, and there will be a value, a semantic meaning associated with each and every one of these extracted pieces of information. Now you can store this information in your system for further analysis purpose maybe, or you can store these information for whatever business reasons that you might need them to. Now, AI-powered information extraction techniques, they can be combined in order to perform data extraction from multiple modalities of content, be it document, be it images, be it video, be it audio, be it text. Therefore, using of multimodal machine learning models for data extraction is basically a very strong feature that can help with digital asset management. It can help with workflow automation, maybe for generating further insights, etc. And the exact service or the exact resource that helps us in achieving the AI-powered information extraction, the services, one of the services are the image analysis feature, where we can identify a text as well as the location of the text in scanned documents. We can use the OCR service of the image analysis feature in order to find and read text in photographs. And we can combine the image analysis service with the other image analysis features in order to implement a digital asset management solution. The main service, however, is the document intelligence service that allows us to extract data. It allows us to extract fields and their values from documents. Now, there are pre-built models for some very popular type of documents, like if we have a receipt, okay, if we have an invoice, if we have a business card. So these type of documents have pre-built models in the document intelligence service already designed for them. All we need to do is simply use these models and upload the document that we are trying to analyze. And we have the content understanding service. So content understanding service uses multimodal models in order to extract information from different types of documents, be it a form, be it an audio file, be it a video file, be it an image. You can also create custom analyzers in the Document Intelligence Studio if you want to extract out a very particular piece of content only instead of extracting out everything that is present in a document. For that, obviously, you will have to train the document intelligence service by uploading sample documents, and these sample documents should have that particular field that you are trying to get detected. You will need to highlight that particular field. Now, if you are using the document intelligence service to analyze different type of structures or different type of forms, so these are some of the examples of how the outputs would look like. The document intelligence service can be used to analyze a document where you can return the structured data representations. As you can see in the document, the individual paragraphs will be extracted out individually. You can get the main region of interest and the relationship between them highlighted. And there are some analyze options that you can configure in order to control what exactly is being extracted for free. Or for some features, this is chargeable. There are pre-built models for invoices, for receipts, for ID cards. Using these pre-built models, you can recognize and extract key value pairs if in case they are present in these different documents. And this is how the output is going to look like. Don't worry, we are going to explore this in the Document Intelligence Studio. Or if you wanted to extract out a particular piece of the document, for example, this particular document, you just want to highlight this, you just want to extract out this particular section of the entire document and these few bunch of values. In that case, you will have to train the document intelligence service with at least 5 sample forms, and you will have to highlight or identify the field of interest, the main thing that you are trying to detect. You'll have to highlight them in this way. You'll have to draw rectangles in order to highlight them. This is how you can go ahead and create a custom model with the document intelligence service. And finally, we have the content understanding service, which uses a state-of-the-art AI model in order to analyze content in multiple formats, which can be text-based forms or documents, can be audio, can be video, can be images. The content understanding's document analysis capabilities, it goes way beyond simple OCR-based text extraction in order to include schema-based extraction of fields as well as their values. In addition to simple text-based documents, the content understanding service is also capable of analyzing audio files in order to provide a transcription from it, summaries, as well as other key insights. The content understanding supports analysis of images as well and videos in order to extract information based on a custom schema. For example, you can analyze images of a video conference in order to extract details of attendance, location, and other information. The video analyzer service, even though it used to be present as a separate service back in the day, it has been integrated with the Foundry portal. Let me just the video analyzer service, it is does not look like it is present. Back in the day, there used to be a separate video analyzer portal, just like we had for Vision Studio. We had a video analyzer studio. But as of now, it has been integrated with the content understanding service in the Foundry portal. Now, for the document intelligence tasks, the first thing you will have to do is create a document intelligence resource. Create a document intelligence resource in the inside the Azure portal. And this is how the document intelligence resource looks like. I'm not going through the step of creating the document intelligence resource once again, since the basic values you need to fill up are simple and similar. Once created, this is how the resource looks like. Now, if you wanted to integrate the document intelligence resource with maybe uh, your own application, in that case, once again, you will have to use this endpoint value and the authentication key value available over this particular URL. You'll have to use either of these authentication keys in order to integrate the Doc Intelligence service with your own application so that you can send requests from your application to try out the different features available in the Document Intelligence service. Now, what are these features available actually? Just go to the Document Intelligence Studio and you would be able to analyze these different features. Okay, so the different features available over here are OCR, you can see extracting layout from documents. Okay, pre-built models exist for invoices, receipts, ID cards, health insurance cards. Okay, bank statements, pay stubs, mortgages, personal tax documents. All of these are available, however, only for US. Now, if you were to try out any of these features, for example, the receipt service, if you wanted to use that. Now, there will be some basic receipts that will be available as sample, or you can upload your own receipts from this browse for files option as well. Now, if you were to run the analysis on this sample receipt, the output is going to appear on this right-hand side field over here. So you can see all the different sections are being highlighted. Okay. So this is the merchant address. This is the transaction date, the transaction time, the merchant name. These are the items, description of the items. Okay. And these are the prices. And all of these different values that are highlighted are also being returned over here on the right hand side. Now you can go ahead and store these different values, maybe in a database or maybe in your system in the form of a file. It depends on how you want to play that one out. So this is what the Document Intelligence Studio helps you out in achieving. And if you were to train a custom document extraction model, scroll down to the bottom part of the screen until you find this custom models option. Click on custom extraction model. Here you will have to create a project first of all. You will have to create a project. Okay. You will have to connect the training data source. So whatever the sample documents you will have to upload them maybe to a storage account or somewhere like that. After that, you will have to connect that storage account to the project you are creating. Then only you would be able to extract or you will be able to import those sample documents to the Doc Intelligence Studio. Then you will have to highlight the fields that you are trying to extract out. After that, train the model and then you will be able to use the custom document extraction model. So that was it about your Document Intelligence Studio. Let me share this URL as well. And I am also going to share the rest of the URLs once again so that everything is in the same place. Perfect. So these are all the different services or the different platforms that we covered in today's session. So with that note, okay, the final part of the module is about knowledge mining. Now, knowledge mining is a complicated topic. It is not covered very in very much detail over here. But just understand that knowledge mining is a methodology that you can work with when you want to extract out a particular piece of data, when you want to search for a particular piece of data from a huge volume of data. For example, consider this scenario. You have a website, you have a company called XYZ, and this company, it takes people on trips throughout the years. Now, after 5 years of operation, people have submitted more than 1,000 feedbacks about your company on this website. Now, if a new user, he comes and he wants to search, he basically wants to make a trip to Spain, let us say. This person wants to visit Spain. Now, this person is a bit skeptical in nature. So, first of all, he wants to find feedbacks on your company's website, feedbacks that mention Spain. Fine. In this particular scenario, this user, he would, if a search service or if a search methodology is not applied over here, let us say your website is a very basic website, you do not have the search functionality implemented. So this user would have to go through 1,000 documents in order to find the feedback file about Spain. Instead of this particular scenario, what you can do is you can upload these 1,000 documents to the AI search service, to the AI search service. Now, once you do that, the search service has different components working inside of it. The search service is now going to use one of the components inside of it, which is called the indexer engine, in order to create something which is called an index. Now, is basically this index thing, it is basically a collection of searchable documents. Now you can implement a search button over here and you can associate this search bar with the index that will be stored in the back end. Now, whenever a person searches for something, that keyword will be looked up in the index and only those documents that mentions that keyword would be returned back to the website. This is how the AI search service helps you out in implementing knowledge mining, where knowledge mining is the process of finding a particular piece of document or finding a particular piece of information from a large volume of data available. That is what knowledge mining helps you in achieving. So these are just a basic overview of the knowledge mining service. So data is locked away in documents, PDFs, handwritten notes. It is time consuming and labor intensive to find data manually. Therefore, knowledge mining helps you to find insight or a particular data throughout those documents easily. And it is achieved with the help of the Azure AI search resource. So that brings us to the end of our final module, that is the information extraction module, that is module number 6. Now at this point, I'll be sharing the documentations about today's training with you. But before that, Arun, can you quickly share the course URL and the achievement code URL so that I can demonstrate the process to redeem the achievement code?